I spend a lot of my time trying to find new ways to make it easier for chatters to sell more pay-per-views and sell them for more when they do it. I find a lot of people tend to over-rely on sexting sequences, which are great, don't get me wrong, but if we have access to all these other videos in the vault, if chatters don't really know what to do with them, then we're not going to be getting the most for all the content that we have. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through my entire system for selling these kinds of videos so your chatters can sell more of them for more money. Now, a big part of that is something that I call pay-per-view looping, which basically works on the premise that once a fan starts buying, they tend to keep on buying. In other words, the best time to sell something to a subscriber is right after they've made a purchase. Here's how the loop works. First, we have our opening, which could be us transitioning into selling a pay-per-view ourselves, or the subscriber buying something off the account. Perhaps an old pay-per-view that they've been sent, a mass pay-per-view, some post off the feed, anything. The moment they make that purchase, we're gonna follow up with them, try to capture their attention so we can then move it into our pitch and upsell another pay-per-view. And the second they buy that, that's our new opening. And the loop continues. Sounds simple enough? I'm going to show you how to actually make it work. We're trying to capitalize on subscribers hitting the fuck it button. You may be familiar with this. Let's say if you've ever diet or tried to diet. You go well for a few days and then you have one biscuit and you eat the whole fucking packet. Oh, I'll fix it tomorrow. I'll do better tomorrow. That's what we want to tap into. Holy animation. Like I said before, the easiest kind of opening into our pay-per-view looping is going to be when a subscriber makes a purchase first. That could be buying an old pay-per-view, something that they were sent directly, maybe a mass pay-per-view. It could even be a post on a free page. All that matters is that chatters know the second they get that notification on their inflow or whatever CRM you use, that they need to follow up with the subscriber instantly. Not in 2 minutes, not when they have time, straight away. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You cannot be too fast with this. I tell chatters, in an ideal world, you get to them so fast that they don't even have time to watch the video that they just unlocked, because they get curious about what you say and you can keep going with the messages. Here's a few examples of how you could follow up in a way that creates curiosity. Good timing name. I'm about to do something, but I'm kind of scared. You're alluding to something that might happen. Don't give them the details about whatever that thing is. Curiosity is the key. You could also say, oh my God name. I was literally just about to do something I don't usually do. Same kind of premise. You could also use something like, haha name, want to hear something crazy about that video, acting as if there was something that they'll probably miss in whatever they just bought. Now do keep in mind that it's usually more effective to talk about the new thing that you're about to bring up, as opposed to bringing up something about the old video. I see sometimes chatters will follow up by saying, how hard did that video get you for me? Saying things like that, fuck that video. We want to get them the next video. That's why you build curiosity about the new thing. But you could do something like that and then link it into your next pay-per-view. Now, something else you might notice, with each of these follow-ups, I've put the name in the first few words. Very important, when you're trying to get subscribers to reply to something, the most recent message, so the last one you send, needs to have their name in the first few words. Why? Because if you've ever looked at an OnlyFans inbox from a subscriber's perspective, they've got all these creators that are just spamming them with garbage, and then there's going to be that one that's got their name. Little bonus tip, if you send messages to subscribers when they first subscribe, you should do that same thing. It increases the response rate a lot. So the moment a chatter follows up on a pay-per-view, they should be starting to plan, okay, what am I going to sell this subscriber from now? I don't want them just to think, oh, well, I'll sell him one more video. I want them to plan for selling like 5. What that means is each video needs to get progressively more explicit, could even just get progressively longer. There doesn't need to be any continuation through the videos as if it's live. You just need to make sure that each one is going to appear as more exciting, thus more expensive. Great, so that's what we do when a subscriber creates the opening themselves by purchasing something off the page. But what about when we want to create the opening? Basically, we need to transition into selling a pay-per-view. And the way that we do that is going to depend on who we're talking to. If we were talking to, say, a low or non-spender, we want to be able to transition in a way that is fast and efficient and make that first pay-per-view seem like a no-brainer. That's because there's going to be a lot more of these people that are maybe after something a bit more transactional. So I'm going to give you a couple of openings for low and non-spenders. The first one being 2 choices. Basically, tell a subscriber that they have 2 choices between getting something free and something that's heavily discounted. Now, when could you actually do that? A great time is if they renew their subscription, or you tell them to renew their subscription and they do it. Maybe just say you're in a good mood. Something amazing happened today, so I feel like giving you these 2 choices. Just frame it like you're doing them a favor. It's not that hard. Now, the free thing can actually be something that you would sell for free. It doesn't really matter. But if they choose the free thing, you still want to say, oh my God, because I'm in such a good mood, or I'm so appreciative, or because it's you, I'm going to also give you the heavily discounted thing. So that has to seem like a no-brainer to get them across the line. So by giving them the illusion of choice, a lot of them are going to end up buying that discounted pay-per-view, and then we can move into our pay-per-view looping. And when I say something is discounted content, who really knows what's discounted? It doesn't necessarily have to be. If you just make a big deal and make it seem like it is, a lot of them are going to bite on that. Now, the next opening for low and non-spenders is something called the question game, which works because subscribers value content more when they feel like it's been personalized to them in some way. You start it by asking a series of questions that seem slightly vague, do it in like a cheeky tone, saying things like, do you prefer this color or that color, this toy or that toy, this angle or this angle, this position or that position. Just choose 2 to 3 videos that those questions would apply to. Then you tell them to wait and say, I've got an idea, or I'm gonna go do something. Then you just send them the video acting as if you made it or chose it in accordance to the answers to their questions. This works with these kind of subscribers because it's pretty easy to start asking them these questions without it seeming like you're being super pushy. It seems like you've put a bit of effort into choosing what you're gonna send them, making it a bit more of a no-brainer. Remember, we just want to get them to buy this first one so it'll be a lot easier to get into our loop and sell them more. How about creating openings with our bigger spenders? For them, we want it to be a bit more long-term and personalized. That's because we know that we're more likely to get a return by putting more time and effort into these people. The first kind of opening for bigger spenders is something called the opinion opening. Basically, you want to start building up to something new or different that the creator did. Take a while before you tell them that it's a video. If there is something genuinely different about this pay-per-view, some outfit, position, toy, angle, anything, you could tell them. If there's nothing that different and it's a small detail you have to kind of stretch the truth a bit, just don't mention it. A lot of big spenders tend to care less about details. But you need to frame it. Like, the reason that you're bringing this up is because you're really unsure about the video. You feel like people are gonna judge you if you show anyone because it's different. So you want their opinion on it. Make them feel special. I really value your opinion. You're always honest with me. You have a really good eye, shit like that. Once you send the pay-per-view, you've framed it quite well, because if they go, that's too expensive for whatever reason, you can say, oh, that's completely fine. I'm still on the fence about this video, so I'm impartial. If you want to get it, I want your opinion. If you don't, that's okay, because it's a big deal to me. Probably make them more curious, more likely to buy it. By the way, how much better is the TV whiteboard than the fucking dingy old thing I had before? Like, it's 2026 and I'm writing with an actual pen. But anyway, the next opening for bigger spenders is sending personalized pay-per-views. This is something that I don't see many other people doing, but it works really well. It's pretty much exclusively for non-active high spenders. So people that used to spend a lot of money, but don't really talk anymore. It's similar to sending a mass pay-per-view, but we're gonna go and send it manually with a really, really personalized caption. We wanna send them high quality videos. If it's something that they specifically are into, that's gonna help. But in our caption, this is the important part, we wanna make it seem like you sent it to them because you were thinking about them while recording it, or it reminded you of them when you were taking it. You can refer back to a time that they bought other content, especially if they've bought a sexting sequence, because they're going to feel like they've had a personalized sexting experience with the creator. So you can go, this reminded me of that time where I was wearing that white bikini and you were saying this, and they're going to actually believe that it's connected to them somehow. That gives you your reason for sending them the content. It literally takes 2 seconds to read through the notes, find out their job, what they do day to day, what they're into, look through their pay-per-view history at previous times you sold them. That should give you all the information for giving them a really personalized caption with a good reason for why you're sending this to them. Now, I would price it high, 150 to 200, but if you build it up enough and they are genuinely a previous good spender, it shouldn't be a problem. And very important, like I was saying before, we want to make sure that their name is in the most recent message you send. So I would advise sending multiple messages with your caption, not just the one with the pay-per-view. That last one should have their name in the first 5 words, because when they look through their inbox, they're going to see their name stand out. We want to do everything we can to make them genuinely believe that we went and sent this ourselves. It's not something automated. Now you may be thinking, why would I want to send something so transactional to a big spender? Well, they're not active anymore. By framing the caption right, you can make it seem personalized. Remember, you have no ongoing dialogue with them. It's more of like a check-in. By the way, I was thinking of you when I took this, or this reminded me of you. I know how much you love stuff like this. Then the second you see one of the spenders bite on it, you move into your pay-per-view looping. Really quickly, I hope you're taking value from this video. If you are, I would love it if you just quickly leave it a like. It helps me out a lot. I drop videos like this multiple times a week, so if they help you, consider subscribing, share it with your friends, and if there are any problems that you are facing that I could make a video on to help you, leave it in the comments and I'll try to get to all of them. Thank you. Now there's another really effective way we can create openings into pay-per-views, and that is by using something I call pay-per-view anchors. Put simply, we can set up pay-per-views in advance, in the DMs, or on the main feed. And we do that by mentioning a story, something that happened, a new outfit, toy, or fantasy the creator had. This should act as lore for the pay-per-view, which gives you a reason for sending it later. Now there's a million different ways we can do this, and I'm gonna run you through some examples, but in short, to make a pay-per-view seem like it's worth more, your anchor should be something personal to them. Now off the top of my head, I'll try come up with a personalized pay-per-view anchor. It could be something as simple as saying, oh my God, James, I just had the craziest dream about doing XYZ with you. So something sexual, but be specific about an outfit, toy, angle, position, anything that will somehow connect to whatever pay-per-view you're gonna send later. Really flesh out this dream, giving him all the details so he gets kind of interested by it. But then don't sell it to him right now. We want to come back 6 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours later and bring it up again. Oh my God, James, I couldn't help but make that dream kind of a reality. So I went ahead and did this. Put on my green lingerie and did it just like it happened in the dream. He is gonna value that video so much more because it's gonna seem like it's authentically made with some connection to him. That delay between when you bring up the anchor and when you go in to sell it is what makes it seem authentic. It really can be that simple. Another one could be like, oh, just then I was in the shower and all of a sudden something came over me. I imagine you behind me, and then build up some fantasy in the shower. You can probably imagine what you'd say, but come back to it like a day later. Oh, I made this because I couldn't stop thinking about that fantasy I had in the shower. Send them a shower pay-per-view. It gives you that reason for sending it. Now with those personalized pay-per-view anchors, obviously you're gonna have to go in each individual DM, set it up, and then act on it later. But if you wanna hit a lot of people at once, you can do it on the feed. It could be something as simple as, I just got this new outfit, what do you think? It's like a pink lingerie set, and she has a pay-per-view in the same lingerie set. Just by having that little bit of relevance, being able to refer back to that in the chats, oh my God, you know that new set that I've got on my feed? I just made something in that. I'll show you how to build up to pay-per-views in a second, but you could do the same thing with a toy. You could even do something with a little story. Off the top of my head, something you could do is put on the feed, today is the anniversary of when my ex cheated on me. So sorry if I'm in a bit of a bad mood. Remember, everyone's gonna see that, so if that's gonna be a problem with some whales, don't do it. But okay, let's say you do it and people are asking about it in the DMs. The way I would link it to a pay-per-view is to start building out a fantasy of cheating on him back. Some people are gonna be into that sort of thing, obviously some are not, but by then sending a pay-per-view going, I just made this, thinking about how I would cheat back, build out like a big scenario around it, you've given a reason for sending the pay-per-view. It's relevant. So in short, pay-per-view anchors set up sales by creating relevancy so you can then have a reason for sending the content. So we've spoken about openings into our pay-per-view loop. We've also talked about how to follow up from our opening into our pitch. But how do we actually pitch these pay-per-views? Well, a really effective way of doing that is by using indirect sexting. That just means sexting about something that isn't directly related to the pay-per-view. What a lot of chatters will think to do when you say sexting is to describe a video in as much detail as they possibly can. And then I was fucking myself with my toy so good and doing it in this position and that position, then I did this and that. The problem is that you'll find is that a lot of explicit content is very similar to each other. So they'll end up saying very similar things each time. May work a few times, eventually subs are probably gonna get bored of hearing the same shit. So an alternative to that is sexting as if you were opening up about a fantasy that the creator has been having. It doesn't even have to be slightly related to the pay-per-view you're sending. An example of a fantasy could be something like a threesome. Free use, if you know what that is. Cheating, maybe. Femdom. There's a million examples. It's gonna help, especially if it's something you know that subscriber is into. But I also want you to think, choose the fantasies, because we're gonna be using one for each pay-per-view. Use the least exciting one first, and then work your way up. The way that you would go about this when they buy the pay-per-view is you say your follow-up, something like, oh my God, I was about to do something crazy, but I'm not sure. Then when they just go, oh, what is it? All you have to do is say, well, there's this thing I've been thinking about, but I wasn't actually going to tell anyone because I'm embarrassed about it. Open up about your fantasy. Let's say threesome. Talk about it in heaps of detail. Build out this scenario entirely using really descriptive language. If you need help with that, I have an entire guide on sexting, which will make that much easier. But you need to get them so swept up in this sexting that they kind of forget about this thing you were about to do. You can try and come up with something if you want, but it doesn't matter. The point of the follow-up is just to get them to reply. You keep talking about the fantasy until they're clearly into it, and then you link that to the next pay-per-view saying something like, I made this video thinking about doing that for the first time. Use as many links as you can saying, at this moment in the video, I was thinking about when this happened. So mention a part of your sexting. Just make it seem really specific to what you were talking about, even if it's not. Because you're not saying that's what's happening in the video. You're saying that's what you were thinking about when you took the video. The premise is, if the sexting is good enough and descriptive enough, and they're turned on enough, then the pay-per-view just becomes where they pay. It gives you a genuine reason for sexting by opening up about this thing that you're seemingly vulnerable about. It's not like you're just going, hey Jack, I was just thinking about fucking so good and then we would do this and then we would do this. It's like, there's this thing I wanted to tell you. I've been thinking about XYZ. And then as you sell more pay-per-views, you just keep using different fantasies that the creator has, and that's what gets them through it. Now, the sexting approach is great, and I would always recommend attempting to use that first in most cases, but for some subscribers, they're just not going to be interested in that. They have a more transactional way of thinking about it. So for them, we need to pitch pay-per-views normally. Most chatters struggle with this because they don't know what actually makes a piece of content valuable. The problem is explicit content can kind of be compared to art in the sense that it's only worth what someone will pay for it. So how do we make it seem more expensive? I like to refer to these three pillars of value. The first one being exclusivity, saying things like, nobody else will see this, I've never made something like this before, I'm never gonna make something like this again. A good trick is you say that you need to go to some special archive on your phone to get the video and put it on OnlyFans because you were genuinely not gonna use it and send it to anyone. Take like 2 minutes to do that and it'll seem way more believable that it's actually exclusive. You can also use emotion to make content seem valuable, using language like, I was thinking about you while recording this video. This will bring us closer together because it's such a big deal to the creator. You want to make it seem like the creator's being vulnerable in sharing this piece of content with the sub, hence the high price, or hence why they would want to see it. Now, the main reason that I talk about these pillars of value so much is because sure, some videos are good enough that they just sell themselves. They're so niche that you can just say, this is what I do in this video, and people are going to want to pay a lot for it. But that's pretty rare. Like I said before, a lot of explicit content is very similar. So even if we're mentioning what happens in a piece of content because someone just doesn't want to go along with the sexting thing, we still need to be making it a really big deal. We do that by sending more messages, and don't rush to reveal what the video is. Instead of going, well, there is this one video where I used a dildo and I did this and I did this and I whatever. Instead, go, well, there was this one video where I was feeling so dangerous. And you have to be corny as fuck. Like, my main chatter, you should read her chats. Like, it's actually fucking hilarious, the shit she says. But she makes it such a big deal, building up to it so much, creating intrigue, that even the most annoying transactional retard that's like, is there pussy in this, is gonna be somewhat interested by it. You need to reveal little tiny bits of what's in the video slowly as you build excitement, and that's how you make it seem like a big deal. You'll also find that you're gonna have way more to talk about if you really focus on what you were feeling or thinking while recording it. It's similar to the indirect sexting, but you're not going as far as going on a complete tangent about it. You're just thinking, and then as I traced it around my whatever, I was thinking about blah, blah, blah. And you just build out all this detail around what they were thinking to give yourself more to talk about. To put it really simply, when you are pitching a pay-per-view, you want to make it seem exclusive, personalized, or emotional, or all three, while also telling the story of the video, why you made it, what you were thinking about while doing it, and give them little hints slowly about what happens in it, as opposed to just over-describing every little detail and trying to make it seem exciting that way. Now, I know I've said this about 300 times in this video. Understanding how to create curiosity is super important if you want to get subscribers to unlock more of the time. So whoever is your copywriter that writes your message sequences, if you have something like that, they need to understand this shit. There's a few moments throughout the sales process where we can use curiosity to make them more likely to buy. One of those, like I've touched on a bit before, is the pacing. Don't rush to give them all the details at once. Use filler words. Well, I've got an idea, instead of just blurting it all out. By telling them over time, you're gonna make them think, one, it's a big deal, but two, leave them with enough to think about to make them want to buy it. Their imagination will carry some of it for you. Really push on making the creator seem emotionally invested in the content. And when I say emotion, the best frame to come at it from is nervous, hesitant, but excited. Because if you're nervous about something, it implies that it's unfamiliar, you haven't done it before, or that you're putting trust in them. You don't want to only seem nervous and hesitant, because then a lot of people are going to be like, you just don't seem like you want me to have this. That's why you need to strike that balance between nervous, hesitant, and excited. Oh my God, I can't believe I did something like this. You're gonna judge me. I'm gonna be embarrassed. Please make sure you don't make fun of me. But part of me wants you to see it. It's this feeling I've never felt before. Just go on with garbage like that. And when you connect the video to them, making them think that there's a certain part of this video where you were specifically thinking about them, or specifically thinking about something they said, without giving them all the details, that's gonna make them wanna buy it. Oh my God, that thing that I did at 1:27, I was thinking about when you said you would pin me this way and do XYZ to me. If you say stuff like that, they're gonna go like, oh, I need to see that because that's got something to do with me. One of the best places to create curiosity is obviously gonna be in your caption, because this is the last thing that the subscriber will see before they decide to buy it or not. It's also where you do your final link of everything you've said into why they should watch this video. Here's a couple of pretty good ones that you can use yourself. I wonder if you'll see the surprise I threw in there for you. They're just gonna think, what is that? Like, obviously it's gonna help if you actually have something you can say, but we've gotten away with going, oh, I winked at you at the end. There's also things like, I can't believe I did that at 2 minutes 41. Oh my God. Look for a specific part in that video where she changes position, makes a noise, or does something, and then say something like that, mentioning the specific timestamp, because when you're specific, it seems genuine, not just, I can't believe I did that. If you send multiple videos, multiple pictures, you could say something like, I'm genuinely curious, which one of those was your favorite? You could even get more specific. Which one of those positions was your favorite? You could even say, which one of those do you think was my favorite? Challenge them to spot it in a way. More of an emotional one. I'm pretty embarrassed I did that towards the end, but oh well. Saying things like that just makes people want to know what you're talking about. A really good one. I'm still sore from that last part. Fucked up world we live in, I know, but that works really well. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there are going to be some videos where that works really well and some where they just know that you were talking shit. I want to see if you can spot which part that I was thinking about you, or maybe that thing you said, that thing we spoke about. That's a way of connecting it to them, like I was saying. There's no way you'll last past what I did at 1:21. So being specific again, but almost gamifying it, challenging them to do something at this specific time. Once you understand these concepts, you can combine them in all these different ways to just make them go like, I need to see that. By the way, this isn't the whole caption. You should build this out a lot more with some sexting, like continuing on with whatever you were saying, or building up to it more, what you were thinking about, feeling while recording that video. These are usually good for the last sentence of your caption. So our subscribers bought the first pay-per-view, we're pitching the next one, and we're pretty sure he's gonna buy it. So what do we set the price as? Well, we don't want it to be an afterthought. We wanna make sure that we're charging enough to get the most out of him possible without increasing the price too much too fast, scaring him away and cutting it short. So it's gonna depend on the kind of spender we're dealing with. To keep it simple, for low spenders, which I would define as someone with a maximum purchase of $50, we can increase the price each time by about 50%. So if your first pay-per-view was $35, the next could be $55, then $85, then $125. Obviously, that doesn't have to be completely rigid, but it's a good framework to follow. If the subscriber is particularly picky or annoying, maybe you can lower it a bit. But keep in mind, the reason that we're able to increase the price quite substantially is because we should be using everything we've spoke about to pitch it properly, and we're also going to be using genuinely high quality videos, not just shorter ones out of a sexting sequence, so it will genuinely be worth it. So for higher spenders, subscribers with a maximum purchase of over $120, we can try and increase the price by about 70% each time. So it could go $50, $85, $150, $255. And I know you're probably thinking, you can't send a pay-per-view over $200. Sure, you can't, but you can still get around that in other ways by making a video seem like a big deal and go, I'm not sure if I could even let this one go for $200. Do you think that maybe you could send a tip first and then I'll send the pay-per-view? Saying something like that. It's really important that you don't get stuck at $200 being your most expensive video. That's just the number that OnlyFans allows, but there's no real reason why a video can't be worth, $250, $350, or even way more. A good way to frame it is as if you're giving them bonus content. So let's say you want to send this one video and you're going to act like you have to go and get it out of your archive, like we spoke about before. You say to them, well, while I do that, because I'm so excited, but I'm nervous, whatever, I'm going to send you these freebies. So you send the pay-per-views for $255 or whatever it's worth, so 2 of them, and you say, unlock these now and you'll get that extra stuff while I get it out of my archive. See, you framed it like you're doing them this favor, you get them to pay over $200 and they probably are internally thanking you in a way. But make sure you explain this clearly, otherwise you're gonna have some arguments. Like, some subs are pretty fucking stupid. If you send 2 pictures to unlock saying like, oh, just unlock these and I'll send it through. Some of them might not understand that you're gonna send the video after and go like, oh my God, you scammed me and blah, 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 and it becomes a big problem. Just make sure if you are going to do this multiple pay-per-view unlock for a video, that the fan knows what they're doing. They're buying this content as payment for the thing they're getting. I promise you, it is a limiting belief that I had for a while that $200 is the most someone will pay. I'm not saying everyone is going to come out and pay $400, $500 for a video. If you focus on doing everything I've said and making stuff a big deal, exclusive, emotional, personalized, you're going to be able to charge more, and you'll be very surprised by what people will really pay. And here's the thing, you will get friction. Most sales are not going to be smooth sailing. There is a lot of money to be made in selling difficult subscribers. They want the content for cheaper. They want something else. Your chatters need to be equipped to deal with these situations to make the most money out of everyone. So a few frameworks I like to follow that will help in selling these pay-per-views. First one being, offer more value before lowering cost. If a subscriber says that is too expensive, most chatters' first instinct is fuck, lower the price. The way to think about it is you have sent them something with a price. They don't fully know what that content is. They just know that they don't think that it is worth it. So you need to match what they think it's worth by discounting it, or you can give them more to get to that price. Now, unless you're working with extremely rigid prices, and that's the creator's choice, that's fine. But let's say you're not, it is a better first response to try and give them something small to sweeten the deal and you get paid the full amount as opposed to just discounting. I also find that discounting tends to make people want discounts more, because if they say that's too expensive, so you lower the price, why would they literally ever not do that? It just makes sense that if it's really easy for them to get a discount, keep asking for a discount. If when you're offering more value to make them pay the first price you ask, you make it a really big deal, like you're doing them this huge favor, they're probably not going to come to expect it as much. Offering more is also really helpful when you've accidentally underpriced a subscriber. Let's say you're pitching a pay-per-view for $800 and you drop the price and you say, I'd be happy to do it for $800. Cool. They just go, oh sweet, sounds good. Well, if they're that comfortable, they probably would have paid more. So to get around that, even though you've already dropped the price, you can send even more pay-per-views. So usually you would send 4 at $200 for them to unlock. Maybe you can send 6 at $1,200 and say, I had an idea, because it's you and I know how much this will mean to you, I want to throw in some extra stuff that you can have alongside our special video, however you've pitched it. So you have an opportunity to sell them more, making it seem like it's discounted or it's special in some way. And if they don't do it, that's fine. But you had the chance, and I find a lot of the time, they'll take you up on the opportunity if you articulate the value well enough. Now sure, there are going to be times where discounting is the only option. But if you're going to do that, a good precaution is to put a few extra pictures or short clips in the pay-per-view by default. The reason that you do that is that if they ask for a discount, you can take that stuff out and then drop the price. So you've now renegotiated. You've gone, you can't have what I sent here for less, but if I take this out, then it makes sense. You just don't want them to think that your prices mean nothing. You say something's worth $200, but it's not. It's just you've decided that. So give them the illusion of really rigid pricing by renegotiating when you discount. It's just really important for when chatters are negotiating that they understand value proposition. What makes content seem expensive and what makes content seem like it would be cheap. If you want to learn more about that, I've got an entire video all about how to make subscribers pay more for your content, so you can watch that. It's right there. Watch it. Enjoy the rest of your day.